You might think your evening routine is harmless. A little snack while watching television, finishing everything on your plate because that's what you were taught. Reaching for convenient packaged meals when you're tired. But here's what many people over 60 don't realize. These seemingly innocent habits may be quietly working against your metabolism in ways they never did in your 40s or 50s. As we age, our bodies process food differently. The same eating patterns that kept you steady for decades can suddenly tip the scale in the wrong direction. And it's not about willpower or discipline. It's about understanding how digestion, hormones, and metabolism shift after 60. Today, we're looking at 5 common eating habits that may be making weight gain harder to control as you age. Habits so ordinary you probably don't think twice about them. And stay with me, because near the end, I'll share 2 simple practices that many Japanese elders follow daily. They take no supplements, no extremes, just quiet daily rhythm. And these 2 habits seem to almost erase the weight struggles we're about to discuss. I'm Dr. Rento, and I help adults over 60 build steadier energy and aging confidence through simple, evidence-based habits. This video is for general wellness information, not medical advice. If you take medications or have health conditions like diabetes, thyroid issues, or digestive concerns, please check with your clinician before changing your diet or eating patterns. What works for one person may need adjustment for another, and your doctor knows your complete health picture. Before we dive in, I'm curious. Do you notice your weight behaving differently now than it did 10 or 20 years ago? And which meal of the day gives you the most energy or the most heaviness? Comment below. I read everyone, and your experiences often shape future videos. Most of us grew up thinking that eating habits were pretty straightforward. If you ate too much, you gained weight. If you ate less, you lost it. And for a long time, that simple formula seemed to work reasonably well. But something changes after 60, and it catches many people by surprise. Your metabolism, the rate at which your body burns calories for energy, naturally slows down with age. Some research suggests it can drop by as much as 10 to 15% between your 30s and your 70s. At the same time, your body composition shifts. You may lose muscle mass and gain more fat tissue, even if the number on the scale stays the same. Muscle burns more calories than fat, so this shift means your body needs fewer calories to maintain the same weight. But it's not just about calories. Your digestive system slows down too. Stomach acid production decreases. Enzymes that break down food become less efficient. Your gut bacteria change. All of this means that foods you tolerated easily in your younger years might now sit heavier, cause bloating, or affect your blood sugar differently. I remember talking with Margaret, who's 68. She told me she'd been eating the same breakfast for 30 years, toast with jam and orange juice. But suddenly, by mid-morning, she'd feel shaky and tired, needing another snack just to function. It wasn't until she understood how her body was processing that sugar differently that she realized her loyal breakfast had become a problem. Here's the reassuring part. Understanding these shifts isn't about blame or restriction. It's about adaptation. And don't fear these habits we're about to cover. Just understand them. Later in this video, I'll show you how Japanese elders adapt in ways that seem to prevent these same issues entirely. They're not doing anything extreme. Just small, mindful shifts that honor how their bodies have changed. 5. Late night snacking. Most of us think a small evening snack is perfectly harmless. Maybe it's a bowl of cereal before bed, some crackers and cheese while watching a show, or a little dessert after dinner. It feels like a small comfort at the end of the day, and for years it probably was fine. But after 60, late-night eating can backfire in ways you might not expect. Here's why. Your body's circadian rhythm, its internal clock, affects how you process food. During the day, your metabolism is more active, your insulin sensitivity is higher, and your body is primed to turn food into energy. But as evening approaches, these systems naturally wind down. Your body shifts into repair and rest mode, not digestion and fuel-burning mode. When you eat late at night, especially foods with sugar or refined carbohydrates, your body has to produce insulin to manage the blood sugar spike. But at night, your cells are less responsive to insulin. So your pancreas has to work harder, releasing more insulin than it would during the day for the same food. That extra insulin doesn't just manage blood sugar. It also signals your body to store energy as fat. And because your metabolism is slower at night, more of those evening calories get tucked away in fat cells instead of being burned for energy. There's also the issue of digestion. When you lie down soon after eating, your digestive system has to work horizontally, which isn't ideal. This can lead to acid reflux, disrupted sleep, and that uncomfortable feeling of fullness that keeps you tossing and turning. I spoke with Tom, 72, who'd been having a small bowl of ice cream every night for decades. He couldn't figure out why suddenly he was waking up feeling heavy and groggy, and why his weight was creeping up despite not eating more during the day. When he shifted his treat to mid-afternoon, he noticed his sleep improved within a week, and that stubborn belly weight started to ease. If you do get genuinely hungry in the evening, that's different from habitual snacking. Try a small handful of nuts, which are protein and fat, or some herbal tea. But watch for true hunger versus routine or boredom. Your body will give you signals if you're paying attention. And later in this video, you'll see how a simple practice many Japanese elders do every day seems to completely counter this exact problem of evening overeating. 4. Eating until you're stuffed. We were often taught to finish what's on our plate. Wasting food felt wrong, so we developed the habit of eating until the plate is empty, or until we feel that heavy, full sensation. For decades, this seemed fine, but after 60, eating to fullness becomes something different. It becomes heaviness, and your metabolism struggles to keep up. When you eat beyond comfortable satisfaction, your stomach stretches. For younger people, this might just mean feeling full for a while. But as you age, your stomach's elasticity decreases and the digestive process slows. What used to be a satisfying meal now sits like a weight in your belly for hours. You might feel sluggish, tired, even a bit foggy mentally. That's because your body is dedicating enormous energy to digestion, leaving less for everything else. There's also a hormonal element. When you overeat, especially foods high in refined carbs or fats, your blood sugar spikes sharply, then crashes. Your pancreas floods your system with insulin to bring it down. For older adults, this insulin response can be exaggerated and last longer. The result? You feel tired immediately after the meal, then hungry again sooner than you should because your blood sugar is swinging. Chronic overeating also means chronic overproduction of insulin. Over time, your cells can become less responsive to insulin, a condition called insulin resistance. This makes it easier to store fat and harder to burn it. It's a cycle that's difficult to break once it starts. I remember Ellen, 64, telling me she always ate until she felt Thanksgiving full because that's how she knew she'd had a proper meal. But she started noticing she needed a nap after lunch, and her weight had climbed steadily over 5 years despite no major diet changes. When she began stopping at comfortable, not stuffed, she told me it felt strange at first, like she hadn't really eaten. But within 2 weeks, her afternoon energy returned, and her digestion felt lighter. The tricky part is that fullness signals slow down as we age. The hormones that tell your brain, I'm satisfied, like leptin and peptide YY, take longer to kick in. So if you eat quickly, you'll blow past satisfied and straight into stuffed before your brain even knows what happened. Try this. Eat slowly enough that you can pause halfway through your meal. Check in with your body. Are you still hungry or just eating because the food is there? You might be surprised at how much less you actually need to feel satisfied. And later, you'll see a Japanese daily habit that naturally teaches the opposite. Gentle moderation that keeps your digestion light and steady without ever feeling deprived. 3. Too many processed foods. Processed foods are everywhere, and they're designed to be easy, convenient, shelf-stable, quick to prepare. For busy lives or aging bodies that tire easily, packaged meals, instant mixes, frozen dinners, and snack foods seem like the perfect solution. They're easy to chew, easy to swallow, and easy to prepare. But here's the hidden issue. They're hard for your body to balance, especially after 60. Most processed foods are engineered for taste and shelf life, not nutrition. They're often high in refined carbohydrates, white flour, added sugars, which break down quickly into glucose. When you eat them, your blood sugar spikes fast, triggering that insulin surge we talked about earlier. But without fiber, protein, or fat to slow the release, your blood sugar crashes just as quickly. That's the tired, shaky, I need another snack feeling that hits an hour after eating. Processed foods are also typically high in sodium and unhealthy fats, and low in the nutrients your body actually needs. Vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, fiber. After 60, your body's ability to filter excess sodium decreases, so high salt foods can lead to water retention, bloating, and increased blood pressure. Meanwhile, the lack of fiber means your digestion moves slower, which can lead to constipation and that uncomfortable, heavy feeling. There's another factor. Processed foods are often what's called hyperpalatable. They're scientifically designed to override your natural fullness cues. The combination of salt, sugar, and fat in precise ratios triggers reward centers in your brain, making it very hard to stop at a reasonable portion. You've probably noticed this. You can't eat just one cookie or one handful of chips. Your brain wants more. As metabolism slows, your body becomes less forgiving of these blood sugar swings and nutrient gaps. The weight creeps on, not necessarily because you're eating more volume, but because your body is storing more of what you do eat as fat and burning less as energy. I talked with Richard, 69, who relied on frozen dinners most nights because cooking felt like too much effort. He noticed his energy was flat, his weight was up, and he felt puffy all the time when he started swapping even just 2 or 3 dinners a week with simple whole foods. A piece of fish, steamed vegetables, a bit of rice. He said the puffiness went down noticeably, and he felt more like himself again. The good news is that you don't need to cook elaborate meals. Simple is fine. A bowl of oatmeal instead of a toast or pastry, a piece of fruit instead of fruit snacks, plain yogurt with berries instead of flavored yogurt with added sugars. Small swaps make a difference. And we'll soon look at a traditional Japanese way of eating that keeps portions small yet satisfying, centered on whole foods that nourish without overwhelming your system. 2. Skipping breakfast. Skipping breakfast has become popular in recent years, often framed as intermittent fasting or a way to cut calories. And for some people, it works. But for many adults over 60, skipping breakfast can backfire in subtle ways that lead to weight gain rather than loss. When you skip breakfast, you're extending the overnight fast, which sounds good in theory. But here's what often happens. By mid-morning or lunchtime, you're ravenous. Your blood sugar is low, your energy is dragging, and your body is in a mild stress state, releasing cortisol to keep you functioning. When you finally eat, you're so hungry that you eat more than you would have if you'd started the day with a balanced meal. And you're more likely to reach for quick, high-carb, high-sugar foods to satisfy that urgent hunger. This pattern creates a cycle. You eat a large lunch, your blood sugar spikes and crashes, you feel tired in the afternoon, and then you're hungry again by evening. By the time dinner comes, you're overeating again. Throughout the day, your body is swinging between too little fuel and too much, and your insulin levels are all over the place. This instability makes it easier to store fat and harder to burn it. For older adults, there's another concern: muscle loss. After 60, your body needs regular protein intake to maintain muscle mass. When you skip breakfast, you're going 16 or more hours without protein, which can accelerate muscle breakdown. Less muscle means slower metabolism, which means easier weight gain. There's also emerging research suggesting that eating earlier in the day, when your metabolism is more active, helps with weight management more than eating the same calories later. Your body seems to process morning food more efficiently than evening food. I remember Linda, 66, who started skipping breakfast to save calories. She was proud of her discipline, but by lunch, she'd eat twice what she needed, then feel guilty and try to restrict at dinner, only to end up snacking all evening. Her weight went up, not down. When she went back to a simple breakfast, eggs and toast, or oatmeal with nuts, her cravings stabilized, her energy evened out, and her weight gradually came back down. The key is balance. You don't need a huge breakfast, but something with protein and a bit of healthy fat can set your metabolism on a steady path for the day. Think of it as telling your body, "We're fueling up properly today. No need to panic or hoard energy." And later, we'll explore a Japanese breakfast ritual that many elders say helps them feel grounded and satisfied all day, without heaviness or energy crashes. 1. Distracted eating. And finally, at number 1, we have distracted eating. And this might be the most common and most overlooked habit of all. Eating while watching television, scrolling on a phone, reading, working, or even just thinking about something else. It feels harmless, maybe even efficient, but it's one of the biggest contributors to overeating without realizing it. When you're distracted, your brain isn't registering the experience of eating. You're not noticing the flavors, the textures, the feeling of food in your mouth. Most importantly, you're not noticing the signals your body sends when it's had enough. Fullness cues are subtle. A slight decrease in taste intensity, a gentle sense of satisfaction, a natural slowing of your eating pace. But if your attention is elsewhere, these signals are drowned out. Studies show that people who eat while distracted consume significantly more food than those who eat mindfully. And they often don't even remember eating, which means they don't feel as satisfied afterward, leading to more snacking later. It's like the meal didn't fully register. After 60, this becomes even more problematic because, as we've discussed, your fullness signals are already slower and weaker. Adding distraction on top of that makes it nearly impossible to eat the right amount for your body's needs. You end up eating based on portion size or habit or the end of the show rather than actual hunger and fullness. There's also a quality of life element here. Food is meant to be enjoyed. When you're distracted, you miss the pleasure of eating. Then you feel unsatisfied and go looking for more food, not because you're hungry, but because you didn't fully experience the meal you just had. I spoke with George, 71, who ate every meal in front of the news. He told me he'd finish his plate and genuinely not remember what he'd eaten. He'd feel full but not satisfied, so he'd snack afterward. When he started eating at the table with the TV off, even for just one meal a day, he was shocked at how much more he enjoyed his food and how much less he needed to eat to feel content. The fix is simple but requires intention. Create a few minutes of focused eating. You don't need to be silent or meditative, but try to notice your food. Chew slowly. Taste each bite. Put your fork down between bites. These small acts of attention can cut your intake significantly without any feeling of restriction. And this brings us perfectly to what comes next. Because what I'm describing is exactly what Japanese elders have been doing for generations, naturally and without effort. If you're finding this helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd give this video a quick like. It helps more seniors discover this information, and it tells me you'd like more content like this. And please, keep watching. We're about to cover 2 calm, everyday Japanese practices that may help reverse all 5 of these issues at once. These aren't complicated techniques or expensive programs. They're simple, gentle habits that fit naturally into daily life, and they seem to protect against the exact weight struggles we just talked about. 2. Hara Hachi Bu. Eating until 80% full. Now let's talk about what many Japanese elders do instead. Gentle, everyday habits that seem to protect them from the very issues we just covered. These aren't trendy diets or strict rules. They're cultural practices that have been part of daily life in Japan for centuries, and they align beautifully with what we now understand about healthy aging. The first practice is called Hara Hachi Bu, which comes from Okinawa, a region of Japan known for having some of the longest living, healthiest elders in the world. Hara Hachi Bu translates roughly to eat until you're 80% full. It's a simple instruction Okinawan elders say to themselves before eating. Stop when you're comfortably satisfied, not when you're completely full. Here's why this works so well, especially after 60. When you stop at 80%, you're eating to the point where your hunger is gone, but your stomach isn't stretched. This keeps your digestion light and efficient. You avoid that heavy, sluggish feeling, and your body doesn't need to produce excess insulin to handle a massive influx of food all at once. Your blood sugar stays more stable, which means your energy stays more stable too. But there's more to it than just the physical effect. By eating to 80%, you're creating space for your fullness signals to catch up. Remember, those signals are delayed. They can take 15 to 20 minutes after you start eating to register in your brain. When you stop early, you give yourself time to feel that satisfaction fully develop, rather than pushing past it and realizing too late that you overate. So how do you actually practice Hara Hachi Bu? Here are a few techniques. Practice this at every meal, but start with your largest meal of the day. That's usually where overeating happens most. Before you start eating, take a breath and set the intention. I'll stop when I'm satisfied, not stuffed. Eat slowly. Put your fork down between bites. Chew thoroughly. Aim for 20 to 30 chews per bite. Halfway through your meal, pause. Take a sip of water or tea. Check in with your body. Am I still hungry, or am I eating out of habit? If it helps, start with slightly smaller portions than you think you need. You can always have a little more if you're truly still hungry after 10 minutes. Use smaller plates if that makes it easier to see appropriate portions. A good guideline is to fill half your plate with vegetables, a quarter with protein, and a quarter with rice or another whole grain. Make this a daily rhythm. It takes about 2 weeks for your stomach and brain to recalibrate to smaller, more appropriate portions. At first, you might feel like you didn't eat enough. Wait 15 minutes, drink some tea, and see how you feel. Often, the satisfaction will settle in. This isn't about deprivation. You're not restricting or punishing yourself. You're honoring your body's actual needs, and you can still enjoy your favorite foods. The key is portion and pace, not perfection. I remember reading about Imiko, a 73-year-old woman from Okinawa, who'd practiced Hara Hachi Bu her whole life. She told a researcher that she never felt deprived, never counted calories, and never worried about her weight. She just listened to her body and stopped when it told her it was satisfied. She said the secret was eating slowly enough to hear the message. Within the first week, you might notice less bloating and better sleep. After 2 weeks, many people report steadier energy throughout the day and less need for snacks. After a month, you may notice your clothes fitting more comfortably, or gradual gentle weight loss if you've been carrying extra. This isn't a miracle solution, and it won't work overnight. But for many elders, especially those who've struggled with overeating or heavy meals, it fits gently into everyday life and makes a real difference over time. If you have diabetes or other conditions requiring specific meal sizes, work with your healthcare provider to adapt this approach. The next practice takes things one step further. It's not just about how much you eat, but what you eat and how you structure your meals throughout the day. 1. Simple meal rhythm, and taking the number 1 spot is what I call simple meal rhythm. The traditional Japanese way of eating that centers on warm, whole foods eaten at regular times, slowly and gratefully. This isn't a single trick. It's a complete approach that addresses nearly every issue we talked about in the first half of this video. Traditional Japanese meals, especially among elders, follow a gentle pattern. Breakfast might include miso soup, steamed rice, grilled fish, pickled vegetables, and green tea. Lunch is often similar, simple, warm, balanced. Dinner follows the same principles. The key is that these meals are eaten at roughly the same times each day. They're made from whole foods, and they're consumed slowly, often in multiple small courses. Let's break down why this works so well for weight management and overall health after 60. First, eating at regular times trains your metabolism. Your body learns when to expect fuel, so it can regulate hunger hormones more effectively. You're less likely to get ravenously hungry or have intense cravings because your body knows a meal is coming. This consistency also supports your circadian rhythm, which, as we discussed, affects how efficiently you process food. Second, the foods themselves matter. Miso soup is warm, hydrating, and rich in probiotics from fermentation, which supports gut health. It's also filling. Starting a meal with soup naturally reduces how much you eat afterward because it triggers satiety signals early. Steamed rice provides steady energy without the blood sugar spike of refined grains. Grilled fish offers high-quality protein and omega-3 fatty acids, which support metabolism and reduce inflammation. Pickled and fermented vegetables add fiber, vitamins, and beneficial bacteria. Green tea contains compounds that may gently support fat oxidation. Third, the eating pace is slow. Japanese meals are often served in multiple small dishes, which naturally slows you down as you move from one item to the next. There's a cultural emphasis on appreciating the food, noticing the flavors, and eating with gratitude. This mindful approach means you're paying attention to your body's signals, which prevents overeating. Aim for 3 regular meals at roughly the same times each day. If you need a snack, keep it small and place it between meals at consistent times. Avoid eating within 3 hours of bedtime. Start each meal with something warm and light. A bowl of miso soup, a cup of broth, or warm green tea. This prepares your digestion and begins the satisfaction process. Build your plate around whole foods, a palm-sized portion of protein, fish, tofu, eggs, a generous serving of vegetables, steamed, lightly sautéed, or pickled, and a small portion of rice or other whole grain. Eat slowly. Use chopsticks if you're comfortable with them, as they naturally slow your pace. Sit down to eat. Put away distractions. Use the Japanese principle of ichiju sansai. 1 soup, 3 dishes. This keeps meals balanced and portions moderate without feeling restrictive. Each dish is small, but together they're satisfying. Make this your baseline eating rhythm. Not every single meal needs to be perfect, but aim for this pattern most days. Over weeks and months, it becomes second nature. You don't need to eat traditional Japanese food to follow these principles. The key is whole foods, regular timing, warmth, and mindfulness. A vegetable soup, a chicken breast, steamed broccoli, and a small baked sweet potato follows the same rhythm. So does oatmeal with nuts and berries, or a salad with beans and whole grain bread. Adapt to what's available and what you enjoy. I read about Hiroshi, a 76-year-old man from Tokyo, who'd followed this eating pattern his entire adult life. His doctor told him his metabolic markers were better than most 50-year-olds. When asked his secret, Hiroshi just shrugged and said, "I eat what my grandmother ate, rice, fish, vegetables, miso, same time every day. I pay attention, that's all." Within 2 weeks, many people notice more stable energy and fewer cravings. After a month, digestion often feels lighter and more regular. After 6 weeks, you may see changes in weight, body composition, or how your clothes fit. But perhaps more importantly, you'll likely notice a better relationship with food. Less stress, less guilt, more enjoyment. This approach isn't about rigid rules. Life happens. There will be days when meals are irregular, or you eat something processed, or you overeat. That's fine. The goal is a general rhythm, not perfection. And remember, these are traditional habits, not medical prescriptions. Always adapt to your comfort and your doctor's advice, especially if you have specific dietary restrictions or health conditions. Before you start making changes based on what we've discussed, let's talk about important safety considerations, especially for older adults with existing health conditions or those taking medications. Traditional Japanese foods like miso, soy sauce, and pickled vegetables can be high in sodium. If you have high blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney issues, or if your doctor has advised you to limit sodium, be mindful of portions. Choose low-sodium versions when available, or reduce the amount of soy sauce and miso paste you use. You can still enjoy the flavors and benefits in moderation. If you're allergic to soy or fish, adapt the principles rather than the specific foods. The key is whole foods, regular meals, and mindful eating. Not necessarily Japanese ingredients. Substitute with other proteins like chicken, eggs, legumes, or lean meats that you tolerate well. Seaweed, which is common in Japanese cuisine, is very high in iodine. For most people, this is beneficial. But if you have thyroid issues, especially hyperthyroidism, too much iodine can be problematic. Check with your doctor before adding seaweed or kelp to your diet regularly. If you take medications that need to be taken with food or at specific times, make sure your new eating rhythm accommodates this. Some diabetes medications, for instance, are timed around meals. Don't skip meals or drastically change meal timing without consulting your healthcare provider first. As you adjust your eating patterns, pay attention to hydration. Older adults are more prone to dehydration, which can slow digestion and make you feel sluggish. Warm teas, as favored in Japanese culture, are excellent for hydration and can support digestion. Aim for adequate fluid intake throughout the day. If you're making changes like eating slower or stopping earlier, be patient with yourself. It takes time for your body to adjust. If you feel genuinely hungry after practicing Harahachi-bu, have a small, healthy snack and adjust your portions slightly upward next time. The goal is comfortable satisfaction, not deprivation. These are traditional habits that have served many people well over generations, but they're not medical prescriptions. Everyone's body is different. What works beautifully for one person may need adjustment for another. Always listen to your body and always consult with your healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes, especially if you have diabetes, heart disease, digestive disorders, or take multiple medications. Let's briefly explore the science behind why these Japanese practices seem to work so well, especially for older adults. When you eat slowly, carbohydrates are released into your bloodstream more gradually. This creates a gentler, more sustained rise in blood sugar rather than a sharp spike. Your pancreas doesn't have to flood your system with insulin, which means you avoid the energy crash that comes afterward. For older adults with declining insulin sensitivity, this steadier approach helps maintain better metabolic health. Foods like seaweed, commonly consumed in Japan, provide trace minerals like iodine, magnesium, and calcium, which support thyroid function, bone health, and metabolic processes. While not a magic bullet, these nutrients can help fill gaps in the typical Western diet. Research shows that starting a meal with a broth-based soup can reduce overall calorie intake by promoting early satiety. The warmth, volume, and gentle filling of the stomach trigger stretch receptors that signal fullness to the brain. For older adults who may overeat before fullness signals arrive, this is a helpful strategy. Though we focused on eating habits, it's worth noting that many Japanese elders also walk after meals. Gentle movement aids digestion, improves blood sugar control, and supports circulation. It doesn't need to be vigorous. Just 10 to 15 minutes of slow walking can make a difference. Miso, pickles, and other fermented foods provide beneficial probiotics that support gut health. A healthy gut microbiome is increasingly linked to better weight management, reduced inflammation, and improved overall health as we age. While the research is still evolving, there's growing evidence that gut health matters more than we previously understood. When you eat mindfully, paying attention to your food, chewing thoroughly, eating without distraction, your body releases satiety hormones like leptin and peptide YY more effectively. This helps you feel satisfied with less food and reduces the likelihood of overeating. For older adults, this mindful approach compensates for slower hormonal signaling. The bottom line: while traditions vary across cultures, these mechanisms are well documented in modern wellness research. What's been practiced for generations in Japan is now being validated by science. And that alignment gives us confidence that these approaches are both safe and effective for healthy aging. If you're ready to try these Japanese-inspired practices, here's a gentle, realistic plan to get started. Remember, you don't need to change everything at once. Small, consistent steps lead to lasting change. 14-day starter plan. For the first 2 weeks, focus on just 2 or 3 changes. Start your day with a simple, warm breakfast. It doesn't need to be traditional Japanese food. Oatmeal with a bit of cinnamon and sliced almonds works. So does scrambled eggs with steamed spinach and whole grain toast. The key is eating something warm, whole, and balanced within an hour of waking. Notice how your energy feels mid-morning compared to days when you skip breakfast. Add a small bowl of warm miso soup, instant is fine to start, or a cup of herbal tea before your lunch or dinner. Give yourself 5 minutes to sip it slowly before starting the main meal. Track how much you eat afterward. Most people naturally eat less when they start with warmth and liquid. Choose your dinner, since that's often where overeating happens most. Plate a bit less than you think you need. Eat slowly, chewing each bite 20 times. Pause halfway and check in. When you feel satisfied, not full but no longer hungry, stop. Wait 15 minutes. If you're still hungry, have a little more. If not, you found your 80%. Keep a simple journal. Each day, jot down 1 or 2 words about how you feel. Light, steady, bloated, tired, satisfied. After 14 days, you'll see patterns. Once the initial 2 weeks feel comfortable, expand gradually. Weeks 3 to 4, add regular meal timing. Try to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at roughly the same times each day. This helps regulate hunger hormones. Also, add mindful eating to a second meal, maybe lunch. Put your phone away, sit down, notice your food, chew thoroughly. Weeks 5 to 6, focus on food quality. Swap 1 or 2 processed convenience foods each week for whole food alternatives. Instead of instant oatmeal packets with added sugar, make plain oats and add fruit. Instead of a frozen pizza, try a simple stir-fry with vegetables, tofu, or chicken, and rice. You don't need to be perfect. Just aim for whole foods at most meals. Introduce evening boundaries. Try to finish your last meal or snack at least 3 hours before bed. If you get genuinely hungry, have something very light. A few nuts, a small piece of fruit, or herbal tea. But notice if it's true hunger or just habit. Each week, choose one marker to track. Week 1 might be energy levels. Week 2 could be digestion or bloating. Week 3, sleep quality. Week 4, cravings. Week 5, how your clothes fit. Week 6, overall mood and well-being. This gives you concrete feedback without obsessing over the scale. The beauty of this approach is that it's not a diet. There's no end date, no forbidden foods, no strict rules. It's a gentle shift toward eating patterns that support your body as it ages. And if you fall off track for a day or a week, that's fine. Just come back to the rhythm when you're ready. Today we covered 5 common eating habits that may quietly contribute to weight gain. After 60, late night snacking, eating until you're stuffed, relying too heavily on processed foods, skipping breakfast, and distracted eating. These habits are so ordinary, so embedded in daily life, that most people don't realize they're causing problems. But we also explored 2 Japanese practices that seem to do the opposite. Hara-hachi-bu, the art of eating until 80% full, and simple meal rhythm, the practice of eating whole, warm foods at regular times with mindfulness and gratitude. These aren't extreme measures. They're gentle, sustainable approaches that honor the way your body has changed. Remember, the goal isn't to fear food, restrict yourself, or overcorrect. It's to observe, adapt, and enjoy what truly nourishes you. Food is meant to support your health and bring pleasure. When you approach eating with a bit more awareness and a bit more respect for your body's signals, weight management becomes easier and life becomes more enjoyable. So here's my question for you. Which of the 2 Japanese practices will you try first? Hara-hachi-bu, eating until 80% full, or simple meal? Rhythm, eating whole, warm foods at regular times? Comment below with your choice, and then, after you've tried it for a week, come back and reply with one word. Lighter, steadier, or calmer. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe to this channel. Next week, we'll explore a simple Japanese breakfast ritual that many elders say helps them feel grounded and energized all day, even in their 70s and 80s. I think you'll find it surprisingly easy to adapt to your own life. Thank you for watching, and remember, aging well isn't about fighting your body. It's about listening to it and adapting with wisdom. Take care.